I arrest everybody. We arrest murderers, rapists, I can go on and on. That's just another propaganda to get me to stop enforcing all the laws.
That's Joe Arpaio, the former sheriff of Maricopa County, Arizona. And here he is shaking hands with President Trump. Arpaio was found guilty of criminal contempt for disobeying a court order to stop traffic patrols that were racially profiling Latinos. He was set to be sentenced on October 5th and faces up to 6 months in jail if convicted. But instead, President Trump pardoned him. During his run for the White House, Trump visited Arpaio's hometown of Fountain Hills to convince the people of Arizona to go out and make sure he gets re-elected.
Sheriff Joe, I want to thank you. You have some sheriff. There's no games with your sheriff, that's for sure.
Here are a few things that you should know about the self-proclaimed toughest sheriff in America. Arpaio, now 85, became sheriff in 1993. His reign lasted 24 years until he was voted out of office in November 2016. He's notorious for setting up the prison overflow site known as Tent City.
I already have a concentration camp. It's called Tent City.
The not-so-luxurious desert facility housed up to 1,700 inmates who were forced to wear pink underwear.
Grown men in stripes, wearing pink boxers, working on a chain, standing out in the public with everybody humiliating them.
Temperatures sometimes climbed to 120 degrees, and inside the tents, they could soar to 145. Heat like this melted the shoes right off the inmates.
I'm not ashamed to say it. They did something wrong, they're going to be punished.
The food was no better.
We eat pig slop every day, not even fit for animals.
He also implemented the first ever female chain gang there. Arpaio's practices have received criticism from an array of organizations. In 2008, the ACLU won a lawsuit against Arpaio. Quote, Arpaio routinely abused pretrial detainees at Maricopa County Jail by feeding them moldy bread, rotten fruit, and other contaminated food, housing them in cells so hot as to endanger their health, denying them care for serious medical and mental health needs, and keeping them packed as tightly as sardines in holding cells for days at a time during intake. The sheriff was ordered to follow the ruling, which required him to end overcrowding, improve medical and mental health care, and provide food that meets the U.S. Department of Agriculture's dietary standards. Maricopa County requested a lift on the ruling but was denied, with an ACLU attorney noting that the jails have a long way to go. They did. Arpaio's office has paid millions of dollars over the years in wrongful death settlements after denying inmates proper medical care.
Never will I let people out early on the excuse that there are too many people in our jails.
But Arpaio's inmates weren't the only ones who suffered. The whole county paid for it. Arpaio and his buddy, former Maricopa County Attorney Andrew Thomas, filed lawsuits against county officials, judges, and lawyers over the course of 2 years. They lost every case, and it cost Maricopa County taxpayers almost $45 million.
The more they complain, the higher my polls go.
Additionally, under Arpaio's tenure, more than 400 sex crimes were not fully investigated, and in some cases, not investigated at all. Even though most suspects were known in the 32 reported child molestation cases, Arpaio's office failed to follow through. After public scrutiny over the case, Arpaio came out from the shadows and said, "If there were any victims, I apologize to those victims." Arpaio's violations finally came to a head in 2017, when he was convicted of criminal contempt for knowingly violating a federal judge's 2011 court order to stop racially profiling Latinos. His conviction carried a possible maximum sentence of 6 months in jail, as well as a monetary fine. But Arpaio will not go to jail.
I'll tell you one thing, I'm not disappearing.